Hey everyone, it's Benny here, and in this video we're going to start actually designing things. And we're going to start with something that's really easy to design, and that's an XOR gate. So, if we want to design anything, the very first thing we need is something called architecture. Basically, architecture is just the logical, it's basically, how should I put this? It's a series of devices or components that, when you put them all together, it produces the function you're desiring. So, for example, an AND gates architecture would be two inverters plugged into another inverter, and this produces an AND gate. This is the logical sequence of events that produces the effect of an AND gate. So, yeah. And so for an XOR gate, we're going to just be providing the architecture for you. And the reason I'm providing you the architecture is because architecture is a really deep subject, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about it or teaching you how to do it, because it could have its whole series of its own. But anyways, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to tackle what's the architecture for an XOR gate. Now, if you look up just about any circuit diagram in the world, you're going to see this as the architecture for an XOR gate. In case you didn't know, an XOR gate returns a 1 if your inputs are different. So only if they're different, if they're the same, like 1, 1 or 0, 0, then it gives you a 0. Otherwise, it returns you a 1. And some people like to think of it as the not equals to function, because if they aren't equal, it returns true. Some people like to think of it as an OR gate with the final, with the 1 1 case inverted, because if you had this as a 1, this would be identical to an OR gate. There's a lot of ways to think of an XOR gate, and it's a very useful device. And trust me, I know that might have not been very obvious in my building a Minecraft tutorial, but trust me, it's going to be really useful in this series. So let's talk about this design, or not? Excuse me, not design, architecture. This is not a bad architecture, especially for electronics. But where are you in Minecraft? Redstone is fundamentally different from electronics, and I'm not going to get into the differences between them just now, but I am going to say this. Since we are doing with redstone, we can take a shortcut in our architecture. And here we go. And again, don't worry too much about all those architectural stuff. It's as long as you know that this is what it is, you're good. You don't need to understand this is why it's working or anything. It's not our goal as designers to know how it's working. It's our goal as designers to make it as best as we possibly can. So, anyways, this architecture involves input A and B, one plugging into an inverter, and one plugging into an AND gate like this. So it's just, and the inputs the inverters plugged into more inverters, now put the AND gates plugged into this. The way this works is, normally, since there's two inversions, this wire will just be whatever our input is, in either case. But if we have both of it, the AND gate turns on, that sends power to both these wires, and that means that this thing turns off. And yeah, so essentially this is like our control wire, right here. So yeah, anyways, that's architecture, that's all architecture stuff, we're done. And don't worry, you don't have to understand anything I just said. So, now let's actually talk about design. Now the XOR gate, like I said, is very simple to design. It's very important to be able to design it, but it's still very simple to design. First thing, function. Architecture handles that for us. We already have the function just straight from the architecture. So function's already completed for us. We don't need to worry about it anymore. Speed. Speed is almost handled entirely for us in the architecture in this case, because the XOR gate is so simple. We'll compare it to things like a CPU or something. So the only thing you can really do for speed in this case is just look for anything that isn't truly essential to the functionality of the device. And in this case, that's just these two repeaters. So we're eventually going to try to find some way to get rid of these. That's speed out of the picture. So already we've conquered two of our free design prospects just straight from nothing. That leaves only size, and that's the real important thing about being able to design an XOR gate. You want to be able to design it in all sorts of shapes and sizes that won't always be available to you. So, first things you want to do is you want to separate this off into a couple sections. And I'm going to break the repeaters when I section this off. But that's okay, I hope. Actually, I could just do this and it's still going to work. So yeah. So right now we have 3 sections. We have double inversion A, and double inversion B, and the control wire, as I call it. Because the control wire just makes more sense to me than thinking of it as an AND gate, because control wires can be more advanced than an AND gate. So the double inversion is what gains this output, and the, what's it called? The control wire is what's powering the inversions. And when the inversions are powered, we don't get an output. That is again, I'm just reiterating the architecture here, even though it's not too critical. The reason is, these 3 sections in design are what are really, you really want to integrate together as much as we possibly can. And very first thing you can do is get rid of having to plug the input into 2 places. Because, I mean, they're both just being plugged into torches. Why not reuse a couple of them? So, inversion 1, inversion 2. Don't know how much space that is, but, oh yeah, it's going to be plenty. Input A, input B. So now here are going to be our 2 double inversions, like before. If I don't dig down, because I don't need to dig down right now. And there we go, we've got our double inversions, but right now this is just an OR gate. If we want to make an XOR gate, we need to have our AND gate. This is going to act as a control wire for our AND gate. And if I invert it like this, we've just produced an XOR gate. So, there you go. This is sort of like the simple design, if you will. And we can even make this better by just doing like this and, you know, sending power like this, but of course that's going to lead us into that issue, and I don't really want to deal with that issue, so I'm not going to. So yeah, hopefully it's not too difficult. Now, keep in mind, you aren't confined to a 2-dimensional space. You can make this in 3 dimensions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like this. I'm going to put a control wire above. And there we go. We have now gotten a new design for an XOR gate. And I'd say it's arguably even better than before. And in fact, if I want to make this even smaller, what I could do is, since the blocks send power when you put a torch under them, I can do like this, and I don't have to put the wires on top. So there we go. We've just done 2 big steps of the design process already. Step 1, we took the torches and we've reused them. That's very good. Step 2, we've organized the control wires in such a case that I can have a torch that's connected to the control wire above both of the inverted outputs. Those are the 2 really big things you want to have when you're designing an XOR gate. Having the torches from the control wire directly above the inversions, and just being able to reuse your torches from the inputs for both the control wire and for your outputs. Now, I don't know about you, but I see a lot of wasted space in this design, so I'm going to make it even smaller. What I'm going to do that is, I'm not even going to change anything. I'm just going to go like this, and this is going to be the control wire we had. These are going to be our torches that we had, and this is going to be the torch from the control wire that we had. And what do you know? In just 3 iterations, 4 if you count this one, we've gone from just a pure, actually just 2 iterations really, but we've gone from a pure logical setup of an XOR gate to one of the smallest XOR gate designs you've come to know and love over the years. And yeah, so again, the real big prospect of design here is you have your torch for both control wire and your output, and you have your control iris torches generally directly above them, or if you can put it like this. Either way is good, really. It's not like anything bad's gonna happen if you do it any other way, but those are two big design things you're looking for when you're building your own XOR gates. So, let's design something. Because I've talked all about how you design an XOR gate, now let's design something. So, big thing. If I put this in power to these blocks. These torches need to be both output and control wire. And there we go. We've gotten to the XOR gate design that we had in video 2 of building a Minecraft computer tutorial. Now, the double inversion and double inversion. If I take the power from these and pull it across, I get, and put torches on it, I get the XOR gate we had when we built the adder. Or one of them anyways. There we go, look, see, and didn't put the output wire, but yeah, there you go, it was working anyway, so there you go. Now you can literally just place these sort of inversion segments like this, and you can place another one wherever you could possibly want. You can even have it going weirdly like this, and have like, I don't know, if you want you could have like this be your inversion segment, and you can use this as a control wire. And this could get interesting because you're sort of mixing the two types of positions. But as long as I connect the control wire, so I'm just going to do that like this, and have a torch hooked up to both of the output wires, so I'm going to do that like, I don't know, why not, like, ooh, that doesn't quite work. I'll need to go up a little bit more. There we go. So again, as long as there's power going to that torch. Now, here's the other one. Definitely not the cleanest design in the world, but, you know, it works, so I'm not complaining. Actually, we can just place a torch here because there's power from the control wire going into that block. And now, we've gotten a very, very, very bizarre XOR gate. But it follows our design pattern. So there you go. And now you might be wondering, okay, that's great, but why in the world would this ever be useful? Well, let's talk about computing. Because that's the whole reason we're doing this, to build a computer. First off, when you're doing a computer, generally you'll have your inputs like this. Input A, input B, output. And you might say, yeah, our standard XOR gate solves that for us. There you go. Problem solved. And yeah, this does work just fine. And again, like I said, XOR gates aren't hard to design. But what if I had input A, input B, output? You might be saying, yeah, if I had my output like this, I could just go like this. Yeah, that's one solution, but why waste all that space? First off, you want two inversions like this. And I'm going to do this slightly oddly because this is going to be part of the control wire. This is going to be my output. Output and control wire. Excuse me, now this is going to be control wire. That's the output wire. So now I can do like this, and that's sending power to both of them. So now we've got, I'd say this is a little bit more effective than this. And unless you really need that extra square, I really wouldn't matter that much. And again, really size is the only concern when you're designing an XOR gate, because speed is pretty much consistent in this architecture. Now, that's one way you might be getting inputs. There's also another way. That is like this. This is pretty much the only place XOR gate architecture becomes tricky. First off, when you're doing it like this, never ever have your torches directly above one another, or you're screwed. And yeah, you do pretty much have to have your torches like that. But what you really want to do is you want to have a torch like this when you're doing this. And the reason you want a torch like this is because you can say, okay, this block has my control torch. And now, if I invert my input, there we go, that's a control wire. It's powering 1. This is my output wire. And actually, in fact, I can just do like this. And if I move this up, there we go. Here's something that's... In fact, I can even do like this. Now it's powering both of them. And now, these wires should pretty much turn off. They should turn on... Only one of them should turn off when I have one input, and they should both turn on when I have both inputs or no inputs. That's exactly what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like this. And say that this is my output. And yeah, because I have to uninvert them both, and there we go. So one wide design's definitely a little bit more complicated. I know, this is definitely not the best design. In fact, I've purposely given you a not the best design. The reason is, I'm giving you a challenge. That's right, you have homework in my tutorial. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have any homework. I'm not a teacher. I'm just some dude giving you tutorial videos. But you really won't understand this if you don't actually try and do it yourself. So, yeah. And, how should I... So, what I'm going to challenge you to do is... I want to see a couple of things. I want to see if you can just... I want you to just try this. You don't have to actually do it, but I want to see if you can somehow get an XOR gate whose output is right here. So, like, goes in here and comes out here. And I want to see if you can build a better 2-wide XOR gate. Again, this is sort of just on your own. You don't have to, like, send me it or anything. I'm just issuing these challenges to you because I want you to practice it. And the reason I want you to practice this is because you're never, ever going to get this if you don't practice it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So, let's see. If you do want to, you can show me your designs and I'll give you a shout out. And if you come up with a really good one, I might even think of some reward. I don't know, I haven't fully decided that yet, but yeah, you never know. And if I get some good responses, I might show you some answers to this. So, yeah. So that's just sort of challenges for you, because you really need to practice. You're never going to get it. Designing XOR gates really important. So thank you. See you next time, where we'll actually design something that's a little bit more challenging to design than an XOR gate. And that is the full adder. Thank you. See you in the next video.